Welcome to All Home Care Matters, the show where we discuss all things home care, with discussions on important age-related matters and topics. Brought to you by Enriched Life Home Care Services, the #1 rated home care provider in Michigan by Top Rated Local.
Hello, and welcome back to All Home Care Matters. If this is your first time visiting us here at the show, we want to say thank you for taking time out to be with us today. We appreciate how valuable everyone's time is, and that's why we try and make each episode here at All Home Care Matters something that will hopefully matter to you. Today, we are honored to welcome a remarkable guest, Mary Crescenzo, author, artist, Alzheimer's advocate, and teacher. Mary is the author of the book, The Planet Alzheimer's. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Wonderful. So, Mary, let's start with kind of your journey. Tell us when this seed started that really sparked an interest for you in working with older adults with special needs, including Alzheimer's and other dementias.
Well, it actually started when I graduated high school. I needed a summer job. I was about to study art in college, and I saw this ad for an arts and crafts teacher at a nursing home. And I just felt instinctively I could do this. It was just for the summer. And so I found myself working with older adults, some with Alzheimer's, perhaps. I had no idea about that at the time. And just older adults in different stages of their ages and health. But what I noticed was the most important thing to me was that when I brought art to them, painting, music, storytelling, they were present and they enjoyed it. And whether they laughed or sometimes even cried, they were with me and I was with them in this wonderful moment. So that was the seed. And then I was a teacher and worked in all the arts and also was a teaching artist. And in around 1994, a friend came to me and said, would you like to see this exhibit I'm putting together, very informally, of paintings by persons with Alzheimer's? And I jumped at the chance to do that. And when I saw it, I said, oh my God, I'm in awe of this work, but I wasn't surprised. So I said, train me, I'd like to do this. It was just visual art at the time. And then I expanded it to all the other arts. And that's how this all began.
Wonderful. So your book, The Planet Alzheimer's Guide, 8 Ways the Arts Can Transform the Life of Your Loved One and Your Own. Is that kind of the genesis of where the book came from your art experience and these classes and exhibits that you were seeing?
Yes, it came from my 30 years of work on and off with this as one of the things that I did in my professional life. Yeah, I felt that I needed to give this to others. I am no longer actually in the locations and working with people with older adults in various forms. I also worked with people in special needs and all kinds of older adults. Yes, I wrote it during COVID because I wanted to do this for a while and I had no excuse. I was home. So I said, I'm going to do this. So yes, this is the culmination of that, but also so other people can do what I do. And I give them the step-by-step ways to do this. But also before the book, I wrote this play called Planet A, which also evolved into wanting to share this because I would go to facilities and when I started, and I would leave in tears and just overwhelmed, and I needed a way to express my feelings. And so I started writing, and the play came from that. So the last chapter of the book talks about how caregivers can also use writing to get their feelings out. So both of those things together, all those years came together to this book.
Wonderful. So your book illustrates you have 8 ways to connect and communicate with persons with Alzheimer's and dementia through the arts. What are these and exactly how do they work? So somebody watching or listening who may be interested in this book and, really the arts for their loved ones or even for themselves, what are these 8 steps or these 8 ways that you describe through the book?
Okay. Well, first I want to say if you're listening and you think, well, this sounds great, but I don't know anything about art. It's, not something I like or I do or my loved one does or has ever done. Just put those thoughts aside, because art is an innate ability we all have to create and to make art. So with that in mind, with hopefully an open mind, one of the ways is painting and drawing. And again, in all these ways, the book gives you steps and also do's and don'ts on how to be successful at this or make it happen. So using watercolor is a great way. It's less messy than oils. It dries quickly. Drawing also, in some cases, works, sometimes doesn't, but try different ways. So that's the visual arts. Then there is music. And music is something that we all love. We can think of songs that just bring back memories.
Right.
And songs can do that with persons with Alzheimer's or anyone who loves music, anyone that we care for. We can care for them with the celebration of music. So you can sing, you can listen to records, you can talk about them. So that's the musical aspect, as well as making music. I mean, clapping, even movement with scarves. This is a typical thing that can be done, or just swaying, just being with the music. And if somebody has made music in their past, give them that instrument, see what happens. So that's another way. And movement is also, dance is another way. Another thing that you can do is tell stories and just bring up a general topic. Look out the window, walk through a garden, say, what's that? What do you think's happening there? Look at photographs, personal photographs, but also books, art books. Pull out a famous painting and say, what is that woman doing there? Or what do you think of this? And so by using photographs and also using just conversation, and if a person is not going in the direction that maybe you're assuming they might go when they see something, that doesn't matter. Just let the conversation go back and forth, follow their lead, and you'll be surprised what comes out, whether it's a memory or just joy or some kind of emotion that brings them in the present in connection with what you see. So that's photographs. I extend that to saying, go to a museum. If possible, bring your loved one to a museum. They have special days for older adults. They have special days for people with special needs. And some museums have special hours for persons with Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of awareness happening now. And so you can walk through the gallery. If that's not convenient, we can all see things online now. I mean, just due to COVID, we understand that we can bring everyone in through the computer. And so that's another way that you can do that. Even give them a camera, see what happens. I know old-fashioned cameras, remember those? But it's a little harder with the phone, but just see what happens. That's one of my mottos. The other things I talk about in these 8 ways is that engage your family, children especially. Children will just eat this up. They will just love, because they're not intimidated by art as we may be, because maybe someone told us we couldn't do art. So bring the family members in, make it an intergenerational thing, and choose the art to start that you feel more comfortable with. Also bring if your loved one lives in a facility, or if you are taking care of them at home and maybe there's a home health care person who comes in, let them see what's happening, engage them in what's happening. Maybe they want to participate or just see the results, because you are part of this care team. And sometimes in your part of this, what works best or how the art can help, where they may not be aware of that just because they have all the duties that they have to do. So engage the team. I think I've got all the numbers so far. The 7th way that I think I had in the book was to celebrate the art. Have people look at this work, say it's paintings, put it up on their wall, share it with the family. Let's have a sing-along. And people may say, well, they're not going to be able to sing. Just try it. Just celebrate what they do in their presence if possible, because that is so rewarding for them. They're artists, and this is their unique way of speaking and being. So share that and celebrate it. And the eighth way is creative writing for caregivers. It's so simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. It can be private. Get a journal or your iPad or a computer. And in the book, it gives you tips and prompts to start this. Don't worry about perfection. It's not
Right.
about that. It's expressing your feelings and putting them on paper. And it's a cathartic, amazing relaxation, regenerating feel, and just a way to just give yourself some time to yourself.
Right. Now, is this something that you would do alongside other maybe prescribed methods or prescriptions, if you will, of therapy that a doctor or a therapist may have recommended for a family? Or does this work alongside it, independent of it? Or does it just depend on what the person's doing?
It's complementary
Hmm.
to what is happening medically, psychologically. Even if there's an art therapist that comes in to evaluate certain things about the condition or state that this person is in. Art therapy is diagnostic, and it's an amazing tool. I actually studied it at the College of New Rochelle in my graduate studies. Um, what it doesn't do, which is different, and not to say one is better than the other, because again, they complement each other, it involves and engages personally the person who's working with that person. And so by doing that, you can be part of that joy, part of that expression. And in art therapy, there's a little bit of stepping back, even though you feel the joy, you express it, but it's diagnostic. It takes specific notes that need to be recorded in certain ways. So now I'm remembering your part of the question. What was the part of the question?
If it was, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So yes, and then maybe you don't have any diagnosis, or you don't have anybody giving you other things. There you are, doing the daily routines. You feel alone. Let art be your partner,
Right.
and bring that in, and you can see how, even without all those other things happening, this can be a joyous, creative, interactive, engaging time together, and it's valuable.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about the challenges that you had faced and the lessons you learned looking back in retrospect. What made things easier for you? What made things a little more challenging for you?
Well, when I start looking back at the beginning, there were some facilities that just didn't think this made any sense at all. There was no time for it. It wouldn't work. They didn't have the budget. Maybe they didn't want an outsider to come in
Hmm.
and break the status quo of what they were doing. And so that was a challenge. And I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of care. And so to have an outsider come in, maybe there's a reason why they don't want an outsider to come in.
Sure.
But in other cases, I had wonderful acceptance and curiosity and just embraced what we were doing. But that could be a challenge. The challenge also sometimes are relatives or caregivers who just say, I don't think this is going to work. I can't do this. I don't know what to do. And so there's that, because the fact that they're not educated about this, informed about this, then that's a hesitancy. It's to protect, in their mind, the person, perhaps. So that is another thing. But, with education and showing what happens, over the years, there was more and more acceptance about this. So I think the people that were most receptive were the people themselves that needed care. No
Oh,
matter what kind of care it was, whether it was Alzheimer's, any special need, they were open to this because they got some interaction.
right.
It wasn't just, sometimes you don't know what to do. So you're just like, it's quiet. But this is interaction, engagement. They were the most receptive.
What kind of reactions have you received from families and their loved ones with Alzheimer's?
Well, once they get it, and at the time, they didn't have the book to guide them, but once they got it with my guidance, they were very happy. They were thrilled because now they could find an alternative way to interact, because they have a memory of their loved one and how they were before, what they knew, how they acted, what their profession was. Now suddenly this person is in another world, so to speak. And so that once they found this way that could open up a door to communication, again, I like to say in Alzheimer's especially, that the person with this disease leads and we follow. But once you enter their world, then you can see how much interaction and a new relationship can form. Now, some people also might say, well, I didn't have a very good relationship with my loved one, and now I'm caring for them. And, they think about all the things that were not how they might have wanted it to be. Well, this is a different world. They may not remember that.
Right.
And so face them, come to them where they are, and you may have a beautiful, amazing relationship in this new world, in this new planet, where you come to them as who they are now.
Yeah. What is the scientific evidence that supports utilizing the arts to help these patients and loved ones with Alzheimer's and dementia?
Well, that's a good question, because people think, is this just anecdotal? It is somewhat anecdotal. But in 2006, there was a study, The Impact of Professionally Conducted Cultural Programs on Physical Health, Mental Health, and Creative Aging by Gene Cohen, a doctor, PhD, and a medical doctor, I believe. And it was sponsored by the National Endowment for the Arts, the Center for Mental Health Services. And it was a long-term study where they used the arts, and they found that indeed it helps motivation, mobility, relaxation. Often these people could get off their medication for depression. It just helped physically in terms of communication with others. So it helped all aspects of the brain and even of the emotional being of this person. So these studies were done. And of course, with that in mind, facilities began to recognize this and look at the science. Because if you're a doctor or you're a scientist, you want to see some kind of outcomes that can come from scientific methods. And so this was a real boost to what we knew as teaching artists could work and could happen and could enrich the life of the person, and also to provide dignity to them and identity to them.
And I'm sure there's benefits to the individuals who are caring for these people as well to use these arts. Yeah,
absolutely. Because you see the change. And so you don't feel like you're in a separate world in your struggle and your worthy job, but difficult job. So absolutely, it just works both ways. And it just allows for communication on whatever level it might be, and joy.
And you coined and serviced the phrase care through arts. Can a caregiver of any person with special needs, with or without dementia, make use of these 8 ways that you have set up?
Absolutely. Care through the arts. It is one of my slogans. And yes, before I started working with older people, I worked with various ages, all ages, some, frail persons, people with various situations emotionally or physically. And this is how all this kind of developed, because I was out there with the full population in various states in the United States, various economic conditions in schools or otherwise community centers, and caring for people through the arts in any situation can be done using these same methods. Now, as you read through the book, you'll see I refer to Alzheimer's dementia, but the core of what you do, which is fluid guidance, no judgment, being open to redirection, and just being in the moment
Right.
through the catalyst of art can work in any circumstance and for anyone, anyone.
What gave you the impetus to write this book?
Well, I knew that I would be maybe doing other things after these 30 years of doing this on and off. Um, and so I'm also a writer, I'm also a singer. And so these are other careers that I have been in and out of. And I just felt, how can I offer someone who is a caregiver to the opportunity to know what I do and I have done, to create this arts engagement, and then take the steps that it takes. And I know that anyone can do this, because when we're children, before somebody maybe tells us we can't, we just go to art, and
Right.
it creates all these things that are being created here: communication, mobility, all these things. So I wanted to be able to have a book, especially because I was in the Alzheimer's space. But as I wrote it, I recognized that these 8 steps can be done with anyone, working with anyone, or just themselves, in terms of care for yourselves too, because that's important.
Well, and didn't Planet A, wasn't it also turned into a play?
Yes, that's correct. Planet A was a play. Yes, it was turned. It was actually these monologues that I created that were
Okay.
persona poems. I thought about the person that I worked with, and then I thought about what they told me, some profound things, sometimes out of the blue, also things I imagined as I observed them. And these poems turned into the play Planet A. And in the play, it expanded to family members and workers, to also things that they might want to say, but they don't, or things they might want to say to their loved ones, but they wouldn't. And also persons with Alzheimer's turning their insight from inside out as to what I imagined they might want to tell us if they could. So yeah, Planet A is kind of it talks about the inner world of Alzheimer's, but it's not down, it's intense, but it offers a positive empowerment to this world, to bust the myths that exist and to educate. So at the end of the play, we always have a member of an Alzheimer's association of one sort or another that are out there and sanctioned, and they do a Q&A with us. Because the
Nice.
first time I did the play, the audience was in tears, and I'm like, there's no way to give them a big hug. How do I do that? So by
Right.
bringing these people in, giving them the chance to ask questions, I think it's a public forum as well as a theatrical piece.
Now, because of all this tremendous work that you've done in advocating and speaking and publishing the book, The Planet Alzheimer's, you were also recently recognized with an award, correct?
Yes, I was very thrilled and humbled to receive the 2022 Maude's Award for Innovation in Dementia Care. There's a foundation connected to this by a gentleman named Richard Perry. It's out of Seattle. And there were 5 individuals who received this and 5 organizations that received this award. It was a monetary award, and we were not asked to work with this and then report back. No, it was just this generous thing, of course, that we received. But all of us are using this to help spread the word about care, Alzheimer's, dementia, and the work that we do. So yes, I was very thrilled to receive this award and to give a speech in Seattle in September. Thank
I
you.
think we have a picture of you with your award we'll put up on the screen here. So, Mary, where would you like to see this book besides in the hands of individual caregivers? If you could say this is where this book is going to be, where would you have it at, aside from just the individual caregivers?
I would like to spread the word through universities, through gerontology departments, through study for teaching artists who want to work with older adults, especially with these circumstances. I would like to have it out there for in conferences. So if I present at a conference, so persons can have the opportunity to have it. Also, arts organizations, whether it's an arts organization or an organization for caregivers. For example, there are, of course, companies that send home care workers out. And I would like to see that in part of their training.
Mhm.
It's not the only thing they're doing, but for them, it's a respite too. It's a
Sure.
relaxation as well. So any home healthcare companies, I'd like to see that as part of the curriculum, as a textbook. And to any places where even the administrators of these huge facilities that care for persons with Alzheimer's or otherwise, if that can be part of their activity director's handbook in their libraries, I think the more people that can take a look at this and know that it's simple and not as hard as they might think, the more people that we care for will have the opportunity to have the art experience that is natural to each.
Absolutely. And, so many families, when they get a diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's, that's all they're really getting. They're not getting the tips, the resources, and the support and the know-how. And, art and engaging these different senses and these different parts of the brain are so crucial in helping that person to stay stimulated and staying engaged, through senses and touch and, using all this creativity. I just think it's a remarkable resource. And we really appreciate all the tremendous work you're doing advocating for these families and for these individuals with dementia, and well-deserved on the Maud Award. Congratulations again. And we're going to have a link to your book and to your website here in our show notes. But I want to leave you with one final question. Is there, and I'm sure you've gotten tremendous feedback, and maybe you don't have a single one that really stands out, but do you have one or two pieces of feedback that have really stood out above all the others from the tremendous work you've been doing?
Well, one of the things is that when I speak with people who have experienced a loved one who had Alzheimer's and perhaps was no longer with us, they just say, I wish I had this book at the time. I wish I had this. I wish I knew about this kind of thing that I could do. Also, I think that it's been reflected to me that my work is encompassing, using all of the arts, and that the value in that is that you can go from one to another. I don't really think much about the question that you asked, but I do get positive feedback about what I do. And if I don't, I try to explain it a little bit. And my goal has been all this time to spread this word, remembering those days as a young high school student, knowing that, wow, this works. And why not have it there for people who need it?
Right.
And so I guess if my old self was talking to me, they would say, do this, you have to do this. This is your mission, which I never really thought would be this mission in my life as a passion. So that advice that they would have given me would have been a good one.
Yeah. Well,
Does that help?
I just want to say, the families and the Alzheimer's and dementia community were very fortunate to have wonderful, remarkable people like you, advocating and, trying to get these resources out and help to not only support the person with dementia, but also their caregivers, through the arts is, tremendous. And we applaud you for all that you're doing and really appreciate your time talking with us today.
Thank you. I so appreciate that you have asked me to be with you. And I know all the good work that you do as well.
Thank you.
And so I was thrilled that you would ask me to spend this time with you and your listeners. So
Well,
thank you so much, Lance.
we admire you, and also we should mention you're a part of the All's Authors, and all of you are just doing tremendous work to help raise awareness and support these families and share these stories and resources for families who are caring for loved ones with dementia. So anytime we can help support the remarkable work you're all doing, we're happy to do it.
Well, thank you so much. I hope to continue to spread the word through videos and through actually the Alzheimer's Speak program, if I may quickly mention that, with Lori LeBay. We have a program. She has a program, and I'm co-host on a show. On the show, it's quarterly, called Dementia and the Arts, and we actually bring people in with dementia who make art, and they will tell you firsthand how wonderful it is for them as well. So as much as I can be out there and doing my work, I will. And I thank you for helping me spread the word.
You're welcome, Mary. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you for joining us today here at All Home Care Matters. All Home Care Matters is here to help families as they navigate these long-term care issues. We invite you to visit us at allhomecarematters.com, where there's a private, secure, fillable form where you can give us feedback, show ideas, or if you have questions. Every form is read and responded to. And remember, you can listen to the show on any of your favorite podcast streaming platforms or watch the show on our official YouTube channel. Just make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. We'd also like to say thank you again to Mary Crescenzo for joining us today here at All Home Care Matters. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to you joining us again on another episode of All Home Care Matters. To learn more about the show and to connect with us, visit us at allhomecarematters.com.